All right, we're starting this at the point where you can collect these weapons and they start off in your inventory then. Now we're going to have a selection of this first one, and you can select different weapons, and depending on what you selected, you can shoot those different bullets, which is the triangle, square, and circle coordinated with the colors. So, in our object Pac-Man, when you shoot, which in my case is going to be a key press spacebar, we're going to do a little bit of code here. So we're going to check and see what is selected. So if selected is equal to 1, then it will do the following. Now we don't have a variable called selected yet, so we need to make sure that we create this, or in his create event, when the player is created, we want to say could be either one, I guess. Yeah, you could do it in the game start. We could change it to game start and say selected equals 1. That way, when you press the space bar, it defaults to something. It doesn't give you an error. And here's where we're going to create a moving instance. Now, for right now, we're just going to shoot to the right. Now, to create our moving instance, I'm going to use this little bit from an old tutorial I did. So in other words, we're going to do an instance create, but instead of just creating it, it's going to tell it where to create it, but it's also going to assign it these properties, a speed and a direction, which is not going to be this, but we're going to give it some properties here. So with instance create, and I'm just going to maximize that, and it went away. That's fantastic. Love this interface. You would think the maximize would just maximize the window. With instance create, where do we want it to be? We're going to say at his XY, which is just X and Y. And we want to create, since 1 is selected, that's my pistol, so I want to create my yellow bullet, which, by the way, I have not created yet. We should probably go ahead and create one of those. Yellow bullet that looks like that. It won't do any damage or anything, but now we have it. Okay. So when we hit the space bar, we're creating a yellow bullet with speed equals and direction equals. I'm going to say it's going at a speed of 10, and I'm going to go in the direction of, for right now, 0, but later on I'm going to implement facing, or shooting the direction he's facing, so we'll make him shoot to the right for now. I forgot that my width here has to have the open and closing brackets. There, and make sure you properly indent so you can see what's going on. So these belong to the if, and these belong to this with, and then the parentheses, and then those things. Okay, now, but there is another option. There is the option of selected equals 2 or 3. Another error we have here, if I get rid of my instance create completion, and the function is changed from Gamemaker 1 to 2. So now, instead of just x, y, and what object, you also have to tell it depth after the y. So put another comma in here, and we need to tell it what depth. So I'm just going to put in 0, or let's give it a -1, so it's on top of everything so far. Now, why do we still have an error? Oh, because we forgot to autocomplete to instance create depth. There we go. And the parentheses that auto-inserted I don't want because I have my own parentheses. How about now? We don't have an ending parenthesis, but we need one. Whew! Now we've got it. Yeah, because you open one here and you close one here, then this one opens over here and closes here. Okay. Now I looked in the Google or the Gamemaker docs for an else if statement, which means, well, it might be this other thing, but there's just the if and then the else. There's not an else if itself. So what we're going to do is basically copy this and just change the setup. So I'm going to paste that in, and we know, well, if it's 2, then create a orange bullet, which I don't have yet, so I'll pretend I already have one and just go make one. Orange bullet. That looks like now I have an orange bullet. Oops. There it is. Speed, direction, fine. All those are the same. And finally, the same for if selected as 3, we're going to create the purple bullet. And once again, I'm going to have to go create this because I don't have one. Yeah, my sword shoots out squares. Okay. Now, currently, we don't have the ability to change what is selected. Okay. We should be able to at least shoot the yellow, although I can shoot before I even pick up the gun, so that's not good. So we're going to have to fix that because our initial... Oh, we need another... Whoa, 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 whoa. Selected is equal to 1, yes. However, we don't have the yellow yet. So we don't only have to check if you selected one. We also have to say is 1 selected and is yellow, if has yellow is 1. We're going to check the global variable, but both of those have to be true before you can shoot it. So in Gamemaker, we can use the AND, okay? So if we just do a search for docs2 Gamemaker AND, how about logic operators? Expressions, there we go. So what do we want to happen? We're doing this right here. Because if selected is equal to 1, and if has yellow is equal to yes. So if selected is equal to 1, and, oops, and global dot has yellow is equal to 1. Because remember, when we collide with it, we say global dot has yellow equals 1. But until you collide with it, that is not true. So when you hit the space bar, that better be true. Both of those have to be true to create a bullet. Now let's save and run. It looks a little complicated, but the logic makes sense. Now I can't shoot the yellow, but after I get the gun, now I can shoot the yellow because I have it. Pretty sweet. Now, we can't change selection, so it doesn't really matter that I pick those up. Okay, next.